All right, what is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, as always, and tonight I have the pleasure to be joined by my friend Lucas Murphy. He is the site manager over at KC Kingdom, and we're going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs' big-time playoff win against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Wildcard round. So first and foremost, Chiefs Kingdom, I'd like to apologize. This video is long overdue, but we're going to make it worth your while. So, Lucas, this was a game in which the Chiefs really did struggle in the beginning, but they were able to come out of this game winning it by a blowout. So what are your initial thoughts about this game, and how you doing, my friend?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a little bit.
It
but
has.
I'm glad to be back on with you and talking Kansas City Chiefs for sure. Man, my initial thoughts were immediately it was play calling, and that came to my mind. It was apparent. And the reason I say that is just because I feel like we just didn't establish ourselves in the beginning to really then transition to those tricky plays that we like to run. As we kind of move forward and we're heading into the divisional round, I don't know if you would be able to do something like that against the Buffalo Bills and be able to go a whole quarter without scoring. I just don't imagine that being a formula for winning a game. So that would be my initial thoughts, just kind of like if you really had me kind of talk about the first portion, is just play calling, man. Like we got to get established. We got to get our guys going. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, whether that is your running game or those guys I just mentioned, like they need to be engaged, getting into the offense, moving the football, really kind of creating that chemistry. So then you can start to run the Travis Kelce to Byron Pringle touchdowns and Mecole Hardman RPOs, which was kind of crazy, but
yeah,
that was my initial take. Honestly, is just let's get it going from the get-go, and then we can start messing around.
I couldn't agree more, and honestly, that's something that I did want to bring up. The Chiefs and the Steelers were tied in the first quarter, and they went into the second quarter scoreless, and this game should not have been scoreless for the Chiefs in the first quarter. They should have found a way to put up points, but the play calling in the second quarter, and it gave the Steelers a touchdown. They decided to line up Mecole Hardman in the Wildcat position. He tried to hand the ball off to Darrell Williams, who fumbled the ball, picked the ball up, and then it got knocked out by Cam Hayward. Future Defensive Player of the Year TJ Watt picked that ball up and took it like 30-plus yards to the end zone for a touchdown. And the Chiefs trailed the Steelers in this game 7-0. And I feel like that was really the turning point in this game because, I don't really know where you fall on this, but I feel like getting down 7-0 against the Steelers was a much bigger deficit than the score just entailed because the Steelers' offense is so bad, and that team was only averaging like 16, 17 points a game. So the fact that you got down to them at all, I feel like that was really concerning, but, it sparked the Chiefs' comeback. At that point, we finally saw them go after Tyreek Hill. He caught that big pass over the middle of the field on the very next play of the drive. And, I think that the Chiefs did a really good job of responding, at least on offense, but the defense was sound all game. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs' defense really clamping up and stopping Ben Roethlisberger?
Man, I'm a huge advocate for this defense, and I think from our early conversations of before the season even started, how I felt about this defense.
Oh, yeah.
There were some questionable things, but man, I'm a defensive guy, and I really think that once you see this team fully healthy on the defensive side of the ball, we saw the addition of Melvin Ingram. We see
So
Chris
big.
Jones kick back inside. You're seeing Nick Bolton actually play a massive role. And I think when you really look at it from a big picture, the big umbrella is these guys understand their roles now, where in the beginning of the year, I don't think that was I don't think they understood their roles. I think some people thought, hey, maybe there's a little bit more that's expected of me. For example, Dan Sorensen. Now that I think he's kind of like, hey, I know that I'm more of that box safety. I can come down and play in and every once in a while drop back and do some things. I think he knows and he can perfect his craft at that, where before we were having him cover like, I was watching some recap of the Buffalo Bills game, and that the one that stood out to me the most was that Dawson Knox touchdown of Dan Sorensen like 10 yards off of him, like not even anywhere close. And
Yeah.
I think those days are gone. So I'm a big fan of this defense, and I think that we're playing to a good level. I really think expected our defense to kind of lock them down. And I think the score really doesn't reflect in the Steelers game how well they truly played because, once they get in the late in portions of the game and they go into more of a prevent defense and little dink and dunks kind of were easy to drive down the field and score. But I just think really they tightened it down, and I think they're playing impressive. I do. I really like the secondary a lot. I think that they're going to have a huge challenge coming up. I figured they would have a little bit more of a challenge with Juju coming back, but this was a good defensive performance for sure.
And I'm really surprised with, even though the Steelers aren't a good offense, the fact that you really just shut them down. They only scored 14 points if you take away that defensive touchdown. And I don't care what offense you're going up against. 14 points is just not going to be enough to win a ball game. And I give the Chiefs a lot of credit. They put pressure on Ben Roethlisberger right away. But the Chiefs' corners were playing great press man coverage, and the Steelers' receivers were not able to do anything against it. And I think that was the game plan going into it, and I thought that they executed it perfectly. But, the offense was obviously the highlight of this game. I saw a lot of different players get involved, and I think that's what's most impressive about this win. Mahomes was hitting guys like Jerick McKinnon, who we're going to talk about in this video. I thought he was the best player on offense, not named Patrick Mahomes, but Travis Kelce had 108 yards off of 5 receptions, and he scored a touchdown. He also threw a touchdown to Byron Pringle, but Byron Pringle got involved. You saw Demarcus Robinson get catches, Mecole Hardman. Patrick Mahomes spread the ball out throughout all of his receivers, and we're getting to the point where you can't stop everybody. You're going to try to stop Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, but if he's getting this kind of success and he's finding Jerick McKinnon wide open and he's finding Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson starts to pull his weight, it doesn't matter what team you go up against. You're going to find a way to win because this is probably the most deadly this offense has looked in a long time. And I think that, the Chiefs scored 5 touchdowns in 10.5 minutes of game. They were the fastest team in NFL history to ever do that. And the closest in second place was Tom Brady, who did it in just under 25. The fact that this offense went from not being able to move the ball whatsoever in the first quarter to putting up 5 touchdowns in 10.5 minutes just like that, it's just unbelievable. That's something that we knew this offense was capable of doing, but you just didn't expect it to change like the drop of a hat. But, what is your thoughts on the offense in this game, and how do you think that's going to translate against the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, so I got to plug real quick. I actually just released on KC Kingdom an article titled "The Kansas City Chiefs Are the Most Feared Team in the Playoffs." And I hit on that exact topic. I think they have a switch that they flip when it comes playoff time. Patrick Mahomes knows what it takes to take that next level. Sometimes you kind of feel through the regular season, even from a play calling perspective and really kind of just how they manage the game, it's almost like they just want to coast to get to the point. But now that the playoffs are here, it's literally like that switch is flipped and it's like go time. And you see that with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the incredible stat line that he put out. And if you go and actually look at his playoff numbers, he's one of the best. I mean, he's going to be one of the greatest of all time when it comes to the playoffs for that reason. So, you nailed it on the head too, and that's kind of what I talked about. It's the fact that now you just don't have to solely rely on Travis Kelce going for 100 yards, even though he did.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill didn't have the most impressive game. I mean, he scored a touchdown and they had that just beautiful ball that, was laid in there and he scored. But outside of that, I mean, Tyreek Hill wasn't that go-to guy. And Byron Pringle is doing some big things. Like you said, McKinnon, we were big fans of McKinnon.
We were. And shout out to Josh really quickly, because Josh has been on the McKinnon bandwagon forever.
Yeah, and we talked about it for a long time. He should have a much bigger role. But I think that just shows you the depth that we have. And that's a mentality, next man up. And, a lot of people are saying, well, McKinnon should be getting more of the ball. I agree. I think he's more of a weapon in this offense. But, there's so many other guys that have still even, we're seeing. I mean, Allegretti's catching a touchdown.
I was going to say, the big boy got one.
Yeah, and so I think you're starting to see the versatility, probably some of the last pages of the playbook that are starting to come out, and I think that's going to be what's going to be a big as we go into this Bills game, I think really that's where it's going to be different. Last time we played, we were missing some guys due to injury. We didn't have that significant pass rush. There was a rain delay, a lightning delay, excuse me. There was all kinds of things that are factoring into really just kind of a beatdown. And I think that, obviously, those things don't go away. You don't forget those types of things, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to forget that.
Yeah.
And I truly think you're going to see a next-level game. And, I believe the Chiefs will come out on top, but I really believe that this is going to be one of the best football games we see probably ever. Realistically, I think it's going to be one of the best football games ever.
I mean, this game has all the potential to be a great one. And, not trying to stray too far away from this recap because – I think that there's a lot to take away from this Chiefs-Steelers game that's going to be put into the Bills' game plan and what's going to happen against the Bills. But I thought what the Chiefs did really well, they were able to rebound when really things weren't going their way. And, I compared this game on Twitter to a lot like the 2019 AFC divisional round. The Chiefs got down 24-0 against the Texans, and they came crawling back, and this game just kind of had that feeling. Like, the Chiefs just scored at will. They got key defensive stops. Willie Gay recovered a fumble, or he punched out a fumble, and Frank Clark recovered it. It's just like we saw the Steelers kind of implode at once, and the Chiefs just poured it on. And I think that, that kind of was what happened in 2019. The Chiefs were able to capitalize on a lot of the Texans' mistakes, and they came roaring back, and they won the game. In my opinion, this game felt a lot like that, and the energy, it's something unmatched because I think that this kind of win, when you had Patrick Mahomes, who had a terrible first quarter, throw for 404 and 5 touchdowns in 3 quarters of football, you know how good that's going to be for momentum going forward? Like, you talked about how good he has been in the playoffs. I think Chiefs fans just kind of take his greatness for granted because what he did in 3 quarters of a football game is something that most quarterbacks will never do. And I think that the Chiefs are going to need that going into this Buffalo game. We're going to have to see Patrick Mahomes be great, and I don't really have any doubts in my mind that he's going to be great.
Yeah, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is unreal when it comes to the playoff time, and I just think that there's just it's nice to just sit back and watch because to even think about this Steelers game, he could have had 7 touchdowns.
Easily.
Legitimately had 7 touchdowns, and obviously we chose other avenues to score, but man, just to think about that's insane. And but I also like to see that for me, it was like one of the first times I felt like they just didn't take their foot off the gas. They kept pouring it on, and I think that needs to be somewhat of a mentality. And like I said, there's times throughout the regular season where, if you feel comfortable and confident enough that you're going to win, then do that. But this is the playoffs, and you got to almost have like that juggernaut-like mentality, go in there knowing that you're going to dominate, and that's kind of the mentality they had, and that you could see the attitude. Like Mahomes really kind of carried some swagger. Chris Jones was, getting everybody going. Even though he went to the injury tent for a little bit, he came out and was still hyping people up. You're seeing Nick Bolton do some things like you said, and it's just nice to see this team as a whole really kind of have that mentality, and I think that's what's going to be exciting going into this next game, and that's why I think it's so big, too, that it's a home game. We can't forget that. Like,
Definitely.
Arrowhead is going to be, rocking. It's going to be insane, and they're saying it's not going to be overly cold either, so which is also a good thing.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that this game, in a sense, was almost better than a bye week, and a lot of people are like, oh, Michael, you sound stupid right now. But the Chiefs used this game against the Steelers to correct things for the next game. If the Chiefs would have come out, let's just say hypothetically that they come out against Buffalo and they don't drop any points in the first quarter, you will lose. Like, that's just how it would be against a better team. And the Chiefs were able to go up against an inferior opponent, learn that they can't come out like that, and they can still find a way to win comfortably, kind of jumpstart some things on offense, and gain some momentum. Like, I think that this game was a great tune-up, and the Chiefs are going to be ready for a tougher opponent, and the Buffalo Bills are probably the toughest opponent they're probably going to have to face. Like, I've been on this for a while now. I think the winner of this game between the Chiefs and the Bills will go to the Super Bowl. That's how confident I am that these are the 2 best teams in the AFC, and I think that, whoever wins this game is most likely going to go to Los Angeles. But, getting back to the Chiefs and Steelers breakdown, I think what the Chiefs did almost better than what they've done in the past is, like you said, they did keep their foot on the gas. We kind of saw that against the Raiders the first time in Vegas, that they just kept pouring it on. But I think in the playoffs, where you're just really trying to get something going and gain momentum, pouring it on against a team that, quite frankly, didn't deserve to be there, it's so big for confidence. And I think that, when you're going up against a team in the Buffalo Bills, you're going to have to find new ways to score. And the Chiefs were practicing some new ways to score. You saw Nick Allegretti catch a touchdown pass after completely throwing TJ Watt into the ground. And we saw Travis Kelce throw a touchdown pass to Byron Pringle. Like, the Chiefs were able to work out a lot of the kinks, and I think they found some new ways, some new innovative ways to score.
Yeah, I hope that some of those plays kind of were used specifically for that game, because we've often seen, I don't know, how many times would you say, Michael, we've seen the underhand shovel toss to either a tight end or to a running back? It was effective. It was effective, and it definitely got TJ Watt off guard. But teams see that enough to where they start the game plan for that, especially in the red zone.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that, they kind of take that into consideration as, if we're at that situation in this next game. One thing I've talked about quite a bit, why not just line up an I formation? Have Michael Burton line up as a true fullback, let your running back get there and just plow through and score a touchdown. Like, we just don't see that. Like,
yeah.
You almost see like an RPO style all the time, or like out of the gun with the running back to whichever side, and it's like, man, just pound it down their throats one time and let's see the running back get in there. But yeah, man, this is just exciting to see, and I do have to agree with you. I believe that this could easily be your AFC Championship game, and it's just, I think this is going to be one of the most exciting runs we see in Chiefs history, forever, how long this lasts, just because if we do win, let's say that the Bengals end up winning and they end up coming to Kansas City, I mean, those stretch of games, I think, are just going to be fun for getting to the Super Bowl. And I think it'll be something that'll be memorable, because now we're starting to see kind of some new faces like Josh Allen, who's been here now back-to-back years, and we're starting to see like Joe Burrow kind of take that next step. And so this might be something we see against Kansas City all the time. I mean, we even saw in the post game, we're seeing, a lot of the Steelers saying, hey, this is going to run through Kansas City. Mike Tomlin even said, hey, we got to give our respects to Kansas City, and saying like, hey, we understand that if we're going to carve a niche out of this, then we got to understand it's going to go through Kansas City. So mad respect to him. And but yeah, man, that's just, it's awesome. And this is a great time to be a Chiefs fan for sure. That's all I can say.
And honestly, this is going to be the revenge tour. Like, you got the Steelers, who you just beat up on. You're going to have to play the Bills, who killed you in Week 5, and then the Bengals or the Titans, two teams that you lost to earlier in the year. And the Chiefs are going to have a chance to get revenge on all of those teams. And I think that right now they're playing their best football. And when the Chiefs are playing their best football, there is nobody that can beat them. And the last thing that I want to talk about this game is I think that the Chiefs were able to really flow on offense due to one guy, not named Patrick Mahomes. I think Jerick McKinnon was my MVP, not named Patrick Mahomes. Jerick McKinnon had 12 carries for 61 yards and 6 catches for 81 yards, and he scored a touchdown. I think if you didn't have Jerick McKinnon in this game, it would have been a lot closer, because he was just so fluid in the passing game. And when he ran the ball, he showed speed, he showed the ability to take hits and just keep going. And honestly, I think that he almost looked like playoff Damien in a sense. And I think that moving forward against the Buffalo Bills, you're going to need that kind of impact from Jerick McKinnon. And if you can get Darrell Williams to kind of supply a 1-2 punch, this team is going to be so hard to beat.
Yeah, man, I could not agree more. I think that's something you have to kind of look at, too, at how kind of Mahomes has evolved. And they talk about it more often, from a big-time media perspective, is he's not always necessarily looking for that highlight home run play every time anymore. He's definitely looking over to those dink and dunks, those running backs that are out there, the quick out routes and things like that. And you need a good running back that can do that. And I think McKinnon's a good option for that. I would like to see Clyde eventually do that? I think he can. I mean, that was a big reason why they said he fit the scheme, he fit the offense, is because he had the capabilities of doing that. I'd like to see him do it more, but I've always been a huge fan of Darrell Williams. I think he is perfect for this Kansas City Chiefs offense, but it is super nice to have Jerick McKinnon. And he did some great things when he was with Minnesota.
Yeah.
He did some good stuff with the 49ers. Obviously, he dealt with some serious injuries, but now that he's you could see him playing really with an attitude, man. He would pop some people as he was lowering his shoulder, and he would, kind of get in their face, and some of our linemen had to be like, hey, man, calm down. Like, holy smokes, dude. But I like that, and I think that, like you said, because we know the Bills, in the article I wrote today, too, this is, much bigger than just what's on the field.
Yeah.
This is going to be Bills Mafia versus Chiefs Kingdom. This is, the revenge game, like you stated, from the AFC Championship. Remember towards the end of that game?
It got kind of chippy.
Yeah, and that's going to be back. Stephon Diggs stood out on the field till the very end and watched the Chiefs celebrate. I mean, there is a lot going into this game, and I really do think, like you stated too, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers allowed us to kind of build that confidence, to have that ability to say, hey, that was a good warm-up game, and now let's go take on a pretty good, solid team.
I couldn't agree more. And the final thing that I wanted to say about this game is the Chiefs did get down 7-0 after playing one of the worst offensive quarters that I've seen from Chiefs in recent memory. You somehow let the Pittsburgh Steelers offense look better than yours, and that's inexcusable. But the one thing that I am really happy to say is that, the Chiefs never got down on themselves. They were still trying to find a way to come back, and honestly, it just looked like the team was having a lot of fun. Nick Allegretti caught a touchdown pass, and the whole team went wild, and Tyreek Hill came back on the field and just started jumping up and down, and on that Tyreek Hill touchdown catch, he took those pom-poms and started dancing with the cheerleaders, and you just saw the team having fun. And I think that, the Bills are a fantastic team, and the Steelers, they have their controversies on the field with celebrating as well, but I feel like the Chiefs really showed how much fun they have playing this game, and, I think the Chiefs are dangerous when they're playing their best football, obviously, but if they're having fun and they're just loose, it's just such a good sign of good things to come. And I'm really happy to see this Chiefs team just play loose and have fun playing the game of football.
For sure. I mean, that's what you need when it comes time, and I think that switch, man, I'm telling you, there's got to be some magical switch inside that locker room that when playoffs get here, they flip it and it's go time, man, and it's just
that's just great playoff experience.
Yeah, and to do it, I think for me to do it how they're, I wrote about it too, is we've done. Mahomes has experienced multiple playoff games, big-time playoff games. He's now gone to back-to-back Super Bowls. He's experienced the tough loss. He knows what that feels. The whole team knows what that feels like, and you'll hear it. I've heard it multiple times in post-game. Travis Kelce's mentioned it. Man, that it stung so bad that we are going to get back, and I think that's an attitude in itself. We did not like the way that felt. We were basically embarrassed. And we want to return and show that we're the champs and we're on top for a reason. And I think you're going to see that hopefully in this next game. And I think, honestly, if they do come out and not necessarily dominate, but, let's say they win by 17 points or even 21 points, I think that sends a message, man. I think that sends a message.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so it'll be exciting to see how that goes.
Yeah, so in conclusion, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at Arrowhead Stadium by a final score of 42-21. They won this game by 3 touchdowns. And with this loss, the Kansas City Chiefs send Big Ben Roethlisberger into retirement, which just feels so good after what he did to us in 2016. And I'm definitely not going to miss him. But, Lucas, where can people find you?
You can find me at KC Kingdom through Fansided. That is going to be really a big spot. I'm writing a ton of articles on Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas Jayhawks, hopefully kind of spark up when the Royals and really the MLB get out of this lockout that they're in. But that's going to be the big spot. Twitter is going to be the beat of KC. If you want to talk sports, I'm more than happy to talk sports. Those are the two big spots. So Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Dude, we have not done this in such a long time, so I'm just happy to get you back on. And guys, go check out Lucas's work on KC Kingdom because he practically runs that website, and he's just been killing it with the articles. And as for me, you can find me on Twitter. That is at KC Sports Report. The Instagram is KC_Sports Report. Go check out the new website. That's KCSportsReport.com. More articles are going to be uploaded there more frequently. And yeah, hit that like button, subscribe on your way out, and we will see you later this week with more Chiefs and Bills coverage. And until then, have a great rest of your evening.